Guys, welcome to my channel and welcome to the 4th annual Journey in Beauty Awards. These are totally modeled after the Emily Awards from Emily Noel. I loved seeing her Emily Awards the first year that I was on YouTube, and I immediately decided that I would make this a part of my yearly roundup on my channel as well. So these are my tippy top favorites for the year. I have a few special awards at the top of the video, and then we'll get into the category by category favorites. And for the most part, I did do an affordable as well as a higher end product, but I also didn't force the matter. If there wasn't a high end or there wasn't a drugstore product for a category, I just picked my 2 favorites. I also tried to do more newer favorites this year because I still stand by my Journey in Beauty Awards from years past. I'll have them all linked down below, as well as the playlist of awards. So if you want more recommendations, you can head over and watch those videos. But other than that, we better get into it. These are always longer videos, so I hope you enjoy. Let's get into it. So the first award is for my favorite brands for the year. And I like to pick an affordable and a high-end or luxury brand in this category. So for the affordable category, 100%, LYS Beauty really took the cake for me this year. In years past, it's been e.l.f, and I still love e.l.f. cosmetics, but this year, LYS became very intriguing to me because it's a very affordable brand at Sephora, even, dare I say, more affordable than their house brand, which is typically the most affordable brand at Sephora. So I was just really excited to try their products. You're going to hear about one of those products later in the video. And then for high-end or luxury makeup, I do believe I've featured this brand before, but like I said, I'm not going to BS you guys. And my favorite brand for luxury makeup this year was hands down Charlotte Tilbury. And part of this, I think, is because I did pan quite a few Charlotte Tilbury products from my collection this year, really grew to love them, enjoy them, and got super good use out of them. But also, I just like her makeup. I like her makeup aesthetic, and the new releases that I did pick up from Charlotte this year and last year are still favorites today. The next category was favorite tools or brushes, and I will have to warn you that I used both of these today, so they're not pristinely clean. But the first one is the AOA Studio Pawpaw Sponge. This is extremely affordable, and it's the one that I've found that reminds me the most of the actual Beauty Blender, but kind of mixed in with the original Flower Beauty or L'Oreal sponges. It has a softness to the outside of the sponge, but it's very squishy and it doesn't absorb a lot of product due to that soft coating on the outside. Highly recommend them. I will have everything I talk about today linked down in the description box for you guys, so just check down there if you're curious. They are affiliate links. I get a tiny, like, pennies on the dollar back if you purchase through my links, and I appreciate it when you do. It's just one of the small ways that you can help support this channel. But my favorite brush that I acquired this year was definitely the e.l.f. Putty Blush Brush. This is a duo fiber brush. You can see that it has some shorter black bristles and some longer white bristles. I did use this to apply the cream blush that I'm wearing today, and that is specifically what I like this brush for. And I like it because there's just such a small surface area here, so I'm really able to keep that blush exactly where I want it versus, you know, spread it all over my face like I normally do. Next, I believe I used to call this the best couple category, but it is the best product duo. Two products that work absolutely famously together. And the two products that I picked this year were the Lancome Tanti Doll All Over Concealer, as well as the No. 7 Lift and Luminate Triple Action Finishing Powder. I have mine in the shade Light. You can see I recently hit pan on mine. I am wearing this combo today, and I just feel like these work so well together. Part of it is the concealer. It's very thin, it's very smooth, and so this one paired with this beautiful silky smoothing powder, which is always what I use to set my under eyes, this combo really stuck out to me this year. And then the next category is always the best palette pair of the year, and these are just two eyeshadow palettes that go together wonderfully. And it just so happens that I worked on panning both of these palettes this year, and that's how I came to enjoy using these palettes together. And those are the Ccolor Savannah palette. Are you surprised? It looks like this. This is meant to be a dupe for the Natasha Denona Safari palette. You can see I did hit 2 pans in this palette, but the palette that I loved pairing with the Ccolor palette is my Norvina palette, which I also hit 3 pans on this year. And to look at these together, you might not necessarily think like, wow, what a pair. But I just felt like I had endless possibilities when pairing these two palettes together this year through my panning projects. So I really enjoy these. I love that this palette adds some of the mattes that I think are not lacking. I mean, I don't think this one lacks anything, but it does add versatility to the Norvina palette that I think it wouldn't otherwise have. I love using the greens in this one with some of the like the gold and other similar shades in this palette. So I really enjoy these two paired together, and I think they make a perfect pair. Next is a product that I changed my mind about. Last year, I believe it was a product that I didn't like that I really grew to like. This year is a product that I thought I liked or did like and now don't, and that is the e.l.f. Matte Putty Primer. You guys know I love e.l.f. cosmetics, and I typically have really good luck, but for some reason, I did not get on with this matte putty primer when I put it into my Partners in Cream project this year. And part of that may be that my skin changed. I'm a little more oily this year than I was in years past, as well as I feel like I have a little bit more texture, a little bit more in obvious pores and things like that, and I really didn't feel like this helped that at all. I felt like it made my pores look even worse and gave me a lot of texture, especially on the forehead. So I did declutter this in my declutter series at the end of this year, this month in December. So you guys would have already known that, but this was definitely a product that I changed my mind about. Next is my favorite video that I uploaded this year. And I actually had to talk to my girl Angela about this one because I just was struggling. There's a lot of videos that I enjoy filming, but there's not always a lot of like standout videos. Like in 2020, my favorite video that I posted was a 1920s sort of iconic makeup look that I tried to recreate, and I loved that video. But Angela very kindly reminded me that I did get a really wonderful package from Merit Beauty this year. They sent me their entire line of products in a beautiful cosmetic bag, and I was able to do a video in collaboration with them. And of course that will be linked down below, but that was such a huge deal to me. I really couldn't believe that they sent this offer to me to send me their products and to do a video with them. I was just so blown away. I don't have a huge audience, as you guys know, and so I was just like almost guessing at why they would ask me to do it. I have featured some clean beauty and clean from Sephora beauty on my channel, so maybe that's why. But ultimately, I'm really proud of that video and just was so excited and so thrilled that they asked me to test their products. All right, now let's go ahead and get into the favorites category by category. The first category is, of course, primer. And for this one, I did not have a high-end favorite. I'm not a big primer person. If it doesn't do something for me, then I'm not interested in using it. But this year, I happened to come across two very affordable drugstore primers that I feel like actually do something for my skin. The first one, and the one that I found earlier in the year, was a gift from a friend, and it is the Maybelline Baby Skin Instant Pore Eraser. And this is exactly what it does. It is a silicone primer, but it doesn't stay slippy. There's a thickness to it, there's a tenacity to it, to where you apply it, it really is smoothing. It does fill in those pores, but without looking like you have a ton of makeup on your face. I have seen this around for years. I remember seeing this around when I was like in middle school and high school at Walgreens when I would go there to look at makeup. And I just can't believe I haven't tried it before this year, but I'm so glad that I did, and it is definitely in the top. And then a new release primer this year was the Wet n Wild Impossible Primer. The claims are that it mattifies, hydrates, blurs pores, and preps skin for lasting makeup, and it is silicone free. Silicone free is great because it can cause clogged pores for some of us with enlarged pores, with acne prone skin types, etc. And this definitely doesn't do this. This Maybelline is more like an event primer for me. Like when I want my makeup to look flawless in person and I'm going out to do something, this is the one I will reach for. If I just want my makeup to look great on an everyday basis, I'm reaching for the Wet n Wild Impossible Primer. And while I wouldn't say this one really mattifies all that much, it definitely does all the other things that it says. I do think it increases the longevity of my makeup. It definitely hydrates the skin. It feels a little bit cooling as you apply it to the skin, which is really lovely. And I do feel like it does some blurring of pores as well. Best foundations. You guys know that the Misha Perfect Cover BB Cream is my all-time favorite foundation of life, and it still is. But I like trying different things, and this year I actually tried both of these. The affordable version is the L'Oreal Infallible Fresh Wear. I have mine in the shade 445 Vanilla. And then I also tried this year the Dior Backstage Face and Body Foundation. I tried a sample first, then I bought the full size, and I have the shade 2.5 in. This is definitely a summer shade for me, but I also like mixing this with other foundations. The L'Oreal, I think, is a really nice foundation. This is a great foundation for events because it's long lasting, but it's also really beautiful in person. It's not just a ironclad, super sturdy foundation. It also looks really beautiful on the skin, and I think that's where the fresh wear part comes in. So I do really enjoy that one. And the Dior is just like a texture unlike anything I've ever tried before. It's almost a little powdery feeling, but it's very liquidy. And that is because it is meant for face and body. And because it's for both, this is very, very long lasting. It's very transfer proof onto your clothes. And it's just an all around great foundation. And like I said, I really like this to mix with other foundations. So that was a great discovery this year. But probably even more exciting than that is I discovered two wonderful concealers this year. And as I get ready to have my 40th birthday in a couple of days, concealer becomes more and more important to me. So the drugstore option is the Wet n Wild Megalast Incognito All Day Full Coverage Concealer. and I have mine in the shade Light Beige, but the higher end option, and for that matter, the higher end dupe for the Wet n Wild, is the Kosas Revealer Concealer. Now this one claims to have skincare properties to it, which I really can't attest to because I never use any one concealer for too long unless I'm panning it. So I can't say that my under eyes look better overall or anything like that. I also use eye cream day and night, so I don't know that I would notice if there was a difference. But it really blows my mind how similar these are. They are both extremely hydrating, like extremely, but not like the Tarte Maracuja or something like that where it's almost oily or it's heavier. Not at all. They're lightweight, hydrating, look beautiful on the under eye. Definitely the Wet n Wild is a little bit more full coverage, but I definitely think you can get pretty full coverage out of the Kosas if you just allow it to set on your under eye a little bit before you blend it out. I mean, in all honesty, if you put this concealer inside this component, I wouldn't question it at all. They are so similar, and if you've been wanting to try this, or if you've been wanting to try this, I highly recommend both. They are definitely my favorite concealers of the year and possibly of life. Powders, both are relatively affordable, and one is old and one is new. The more affordable option and an old favorite that I just recently repurchased is the No. 7 Perfect Light Pressed Powder. I have the translucent version, but I've also tried the pigmented colored face powders in the past. Those are fine too if you want to add coverage to your look. But this is wonderful. I love that this does not pick up too much powder on the brush. It makes it very easy to just apply the amount of powder that you need, and this will set your makeup. It's not mattifying or anything like that, but it will keep your makeup intact, and I love that about this. I used to use this one on my under eyes, and I still would, but I like the triple action one that I talked about earlier better for my under eyes, so since I have it, I use it that way. But for my face, this is 100% the one that I can depend on and have depended on for years. However, my new discovery this year, also fairly reasonable, just a few dollars more than the No. 7, is the LYS Triple Fix Translucent Setting Powder. I have the shade Resilience. It is translucent, but it is also the lightest shade in the range. And I love this. This is so similar to the Perfect Light that it's crazy. The only thing that's a little bit different about this one, and that I like a little more coming from this one, is this slight yellowy tone. If you look at the translucent No. 7 powder, you can see this one leans a little more peach, pink, somewhere in there. And while that doesn't really translate to the face, I just really enjoy the slightly yellow tone to this. And I love the packaging, I love the price point, I love the brand, and I was so super thrilled. This was definitely the powder find of the year. Bronzer. This was definitely a hard category for me. I acquired so many concealers and bronzers and cream blushes this year that it was outrageous. But No. 1, cream bronzer, and this is a category where I did not feature an affordable or drugstore option, so I'm sorry about that, but again, I'm gonna speak my truth. And my favorite cream bronzer, not only of the year, but of all time, at least so far, is the Fenty Beauty Cheeks Out Freestyle Cream Bronzer. I have the shade Butter Biscuit, and you can see I did some serious damage on this product this year. I did work on this consistently in my Partners in Cream project until I hit pan, but I have used it many, many times since then. It is just the perfect color for my skin tone. It's buildable, it's lightweight, it's blendable. I find this works with a sponge. I also love it with a brush. I think you could absolutely apply it with your fingers if you felt inclined to do so. So if you are looking for like just a foolproof cream bronzer, I highly recommend this one. It doesn't have the most product in all the world and it's not inexpensive, but it is the best. Not only that, it has an amazing shade range, which I think we don't see enough in bronzers, and so I definitely like to promote or feature products like this on my channel. Plus, we know Fenty Beauty is great about inclusivity. The second bronzer, however, is a duo, and it's one that many people enjoyed this year. It is the Patrick Ta, what are you called? I think it's called the Major Sculpt. It's hard to say. It'll all be down in the description box. I have the medium shade called She's Sculpted. And this one is fantastic because you get a cream and a powder in here. I really enjoy the cream. It looks more cool tone, but I do find that when I blend it out on my skin, and maybe it's not more cool tone, maybe neutral is the better way to describe it, but I find the same thing to be true about the Charlotte Tilbury contour wand, and that is while it comes out looking like a contour color, if I blend it, it turns warmer and works as a bronzer. So the cream is beautiful on this, but the powder is also beautiful, and even more importantly, they pair together beautifully. This is the powder. So I really enjoyed getting to know this one this year. This is one that is very dependable as well. I still reach for the Fenty as my like go-to, but I really love this one as well. Now for blush, I think you're gonna be surprised. In years past, I feel like I've kind of gradually expanded the blush category to fit my ever-loving addiction to all things blush. And this year I didn't do that. I was like, that's it. Every other category, I picked 2. I'm only picking 2 blushes. And it just so happened that they both ended up being cream. Are we surprised? So the first one, and probably the more affordable option, is the Tower 28 Beach Please blush, but specifically this shade in the shade After Hours. Oh, when I got this, I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to get a lot of use out of it because it looks scary, right? Looks scary on the finger, looks scary in the swatch, but when you blend it out, it just becomes the most beautiful flush of color that also looks kind of juicy on the cheeks. It's not what I have on today, though I very heavily considered it. It's just beautiful, and that's what I like about it. I think you can probably see that there's a sheen there. Even though my hand is dry as a Sahara, it is beautiful on the skin, and this was one that I also very much not only featured in a video, but was the cause of a video that I did that was about lip and cheek products that actually work for both. Not all products are created the same, and sometimes it's a skin tone thing or what have you, but a lot of times it's a formula thing. It's a formula thing where it's like, it looks great on the cheeks, but I would never put that on my lips, or vice versa. I love it on the lips, would never put that on my cheeks. This I love for both. Absolutely love it on the lips. It's a beautiful pairing when you apply it on your cheeks as well. And I just really enjoy this one. And then the second blush for this year is an oldie, not in my collection, but in existence. And that is the Stila Convertible Color in the shade Lilium. I saw this on Jessica Braun's channel this year and I ran to my phone to order it. It's just such a beautiful, perfect, everyday pink. I could definitely see myself working on this in Partners in Cream this coming year. It's such a beautiful color. It just looks beautiful on the cheeks. This is one of those blushes that, well, I think it is a lip and cheek, yes, and it looks beautiful on the cheeks. This is way too light for my lips. It would never work, but it's beautiful. It's creamy. The formula does feel a lot like the Tower 28 blushes. However, it's kind of like, this is going to be a funny analogy. It's kind of like if you make your tomato soup with water or milk. The Tower 28 is like more of a clear balm. It's not milky, it's more clear. Whereas this one is definitely more of a milky color. So hopefully that makes sense in making that distinction, but I absolutely adore not only the color, but the formula as well. Okay, next for highlighter, we do have an affordable and a high-end, but we also have a repeat product. I bet you could guess what it is. We'll start with the non-repeat and the affordable option. That is the Flower Beauty Day Glow Highlighting Glaze in the shade Stunner. This is a stunner. It is so beautiful. It's very, very sheer, which is part of what I like about it, because when you apply it to the skin, it doesn't look like a stripe. It just looks like a glossy skin. However, this is very long lasting. It doesn't pick up my makeup. It doesn't cause my makeup to break up. It's very, I don't want to say stiff because that sounds negative, but it's not so super creamy that it's gonna go everywhere. It's gonna go where you put it. It's gonna blend out beautifully with the warmth of your hands if that's how you choose to apply it. And I just love that. I love the sheer quality of this. It's hands down my favorite cream highlighter right now. But the one that took the cake last year and takes it again this year is the Nabla Skin Glazing Glass Skin Finish Glow Powder in the shade Privilege. I love this. You cannot tell that it's from Nabla anymore because I've used it so much last year and this year. It was pretty new last year when I put it into the awards, but definitely a favorite, and it is still a favorite today. It's just my perfect highlighter. It's kind of peachy, champagne-y, pinky a little bit, and it's just gorgeous. And like the Flower Beauty cream option, this is also very sheer on the skin. So again, you get that glassy, glossy, naturally healthy skin look versus a stripe or just metallic or what have you. Not that there's not a time and place for that in my collection, there is, but this is just something I reach for over and again. So lastly, for the face is the best face palette or multi-use palette of the year. And this honestly was not that hard at all. I really haven't purchased a lot of face palettes this year. I think only one other, and it's quite new and not necessarily a favorite. But the NARS Orgasm on the Beach palette like became an immediate favorite for me. I love the two highlighter options. These are my only highlighters from NARS, and I was so excited to try it. This makes a beautiful sort of rosy bronzer shade, but you can also use it as a blush depending on your skin tone, what your preferences are. So I really enjoy that. For me, it makes it an all over cheek palette. I love this red blush. It's not what I'm wearing today, but it could be very similar. What I'm wearing on my cheeks today, in case you're curious, is the Patrick Ta Major Headlines blush palette. So, and then you have these two more sheer blushes, Orgasm, of course, and then this beautiful peachy one. This one kind of reminds me a little bit of Luster, but way more pigmented, and I love just mixing and matching and layering and all the goodness with this palette. I've used it on my eyes. This is the palette that I took with me when my husband surprised me and flew me out to meet him in Vegas this year. So I love this. It's so pretty. It's the only one I really want to reach for in my face palette drawer like all year. This is a category that you'll have to take with a grain of salt. I'll tell you what my preferences are, but it's mascara. And I think this is as personal as, you know, your underwear or your bra. It's just something that, you know, there's not even always like a rhyme or reason to the mascaras that I end up liking. But this year there were two very clear favorites, one drugstore and one high-end. The drugstore one, I think you probably know if you've been around, that I have purchased multiple tubes of the e.l.f. Lash It Loud mascara. I have never ever been a fan of these spiky silicone wands in the past, but this one, I just love it. I like the formula. I like how the brush works. I don't like poking my eye with it from time to time, mind you, but you know, it's all in the name of beauty, right? So I really enjoy this. It gives a ton of length, and what I prefer in a mascara is either super lengthened and defined lashes, which is what this one does, or super fluffy, full, but not clumpy lashes. And that is what the next one does for me. And it is one that makes me sick to purchase. But it's the Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk Push-Up Mascara. This is crazy good. This is the one that I have on today. And it's a beautiful, I don't know, is romantic a weird word to use for mascara? I feel like it might be, but this has the coolest wand ever. So it's flat on one side, and then you turn it, and it has bristles on the edges. So you apply the product with the flat side of the brush, and then you turn it and use the comb part to comb it through. Definitely a learning curve on this one, but I tried a sample of this that I received with my Nudegasm palette when hubby ordered that for me, and I used that mascara up entirely. Like, that's all I used until it was completely gone. And I was like, you know what? I just got to do it. You know, I'll know by time this is all finished whether the price was worth it to me in the end. But right now, I'm just enjoying the heck out of both of these. So, lip liner. This is the second one of the exact same liner in the exact same shade that I've had this year. I used up an entire one, and now I'm on my second one, and I'm very close to using this one up as well. It is the Milani Understatement lip liner in the shade Nude Entrance. I believe I heard about these on Emily Noel's channel, and it's just my perfect nude liner. Perfect. Perfect, perfect. I love my MAC World, don't get me wrong, that's a holy grail, but that's a My Lips Better shade. My lips underneath all of this red lipstick is like more of a mauve-y pink color, so that's why that one works for me. But this one, with any lipstick, I tell you, I love this thing. It is so creamy, but it sets down beautifully. That's all I have. Oops. That's all I have of my second one, and then I'll have to buy a third. I just won't ever be without this one. If they ever discontinue it, I will cry. I just love this. It's the perfect lip liner. For a balm product, because we're still wearing masks on and off, you know, around here, this product really just kind of came into my life by accident. This Sephora Melting Lip Clicks is amazing. This is the shade, is it caramel or caramel? Caramel. And so you have this little component here, right? You've got the product inside, and then you've got this little clicky button on the bottom. And this clicks up just the tiniest amount of product, enough to where you can just apply this to your lips. And it is so comfortable. So comfortable. It's what it looks like. It's shiny, it's cushy, it's comfy. Not long wearing, but if you like a balmy product to apply out in public, under your mask, or at home, around the house, with a full face of makeup, or whatever you like, I love these. Unfortunately, I can't tell if they're just been on sale for a long time, or if Sephora is discontinuing these, because they like to do that with their house brand. I don't get it. But this is beautiful. One of my favorite balm, tinted balm type products of the year. And lipstick. This was a harder one because I was looking at all of my lipsticks, And a lot of them are Charlotte Tilbury that I rotate through. But all of my lipsticks I sort of rotate through. A lot of them I've had for a long time, like my NARS Velvet Matte Lip Pencils. How do you pick a favorite? This was definitely a favorite this year. It comes from the drugstore and it is a dupe for an outrageously expensive lipstick that's been on my wish list for a long time. This is from L'Oreal. It is their Color Riche Nude Intense line. This is the shade New Irreverent, and it is definitely, according to Tim Talia and myself, a shade dupe for Fever Dream from Pat McGrath. It's a beautiful corally red color, but it has just the slightest gold sheen to it. It's not glitter, there's no sparkle to it. It's just the lipstick itself has sort of a golden sheen running through it, and it's stunning. I love this. I like to pair this with my Charlotte Tilbury Lip Cheat in Walk of No Shame. And I also think this is pretty similar to the actual Charlotte Tilbury Walk of No Shame lipstick, which I also own, but this was like the most exciting lipstick find of the year for me. I love L'Oreal lipsticks. They're some of my favorites. I've worn them since I started wearing lipstick. I think Nature's Blush, that might be what my original shade in the Color Riche lipsticks was. I loved that. I think I went through multiple tubes of it. I need to pick that up again. I want to try that again. Anyway, lipstick of the year. And lastly, the gloss of the year is this one from Kosas, much to my chagrin. It's the Kosas Wet Lip Oil Plumping Treatment Gloss. I don't know whether they get these names for the stuff. This is the shade Jellyfish. It is, for all intents and purposes, clear. It has a slight pinky tint to it, but I love the way this makes my lips look. And I mean, it's really not gonna show you anything by putting it on the back of my hand, other than you can see just the shine of it. It's so shiny and beautiful on the lips. It almost looks like it could have a sparkle in it, but it doesn't. There's no pigment, no sparkle to it. But it's absolutely stunning. It is so comfortable on the lips. It actually is nourishing to the lips, as the lip oil would suggest, as well as the word treatment. In terms of plumping, you know, there's nothing in here that will actually plump your lips. I think they just look fuller because of that extreme glossy, shiny finish. The only downside to these are the price and the amount of product that you get in here. This is 4.6 milliliters, which I think when I compared it to a lifter gloss was like 1 full milliliter less. So take that for what you will. I'll probably repurchase it because this is just one of my favorite lip glossy treatment lip oil type products that I've ever tried. Okay, eyeshadow palettes. So how I've broken this down this year, and I've done it different, I think, every year, just depending on how hard it is for me to choose, to be honest. So I've broken this down into the best neutral and colorful palettes from any year. And then I'm going to share with you my top 3 palettes that were released this year in 2021. So my tippy top neutral palette for this year is That's Taupe palette from ColourPop. I've talked about this a lot. I did a video where I did 3 or 4 looks that I can link, but I absolutely adore this palette, and I like cool tones. I mean, they're not my 100% favorite by any means, but I just love this palette. The center shade is so beautiful, and then you have a Super Shock in here as well. I love that there's different ways that you can go with this. You know, you have your more neutral tones, you've got a rosy option here, definitely some more cool tones. This shade leans green, which is beautiful. Like I said, there's a Super Shock shadow here, so I just love this palette. I just couldn't be more happy that I purchased this one. I also really like the Blush Crush palette. And then my favorite colorful palette this year, I wonder if you'll be surprised, is also an affordable palette, and it is the BH Avocado Toast palette. I did a 1 month 1 palette video with this, which I'll link. But I just love this palette overall. It has green in it, but it has so much more than that. And the formula in here is just to die for. I got so many different looks out of this. I had so much fun using it for an entire month in conjunction with my Project Pan eyeshadows. But I predominantly reached for this and used my Project Pan shadows as support. And I just love this. I really, really love this. This has got to be one of my favorite palettes that I purchased this year. I also purchased the Blueberry Muffin palette at the same time, but I haven't really gotten to know that one like I did this one through my 1 month 1 palette series. So I love this so much. Did I mention I love this? And if if you've ever been curious about green or want to dip your toe in some green, I think this would be a great palette to do so because, like I said, it's not just green and it has some great supporting shades for any kind of look. And then we have the top 3 of the year, and this is where we get expensive. The first one was my Natasha Denona Zendo palette. And this might be surprising to some of you because not a lot of people enjoyed this palette. And I think it just depends on what your expectations were and how well you know Natasha Denona and her formula. For me, I understand that these are not her most blinding, metallic, foiled shadows. They're just not. I don't even think that they were meant to be. I don't think these are duds. I think this is just different formulations than what people are used to. Love this cream to powder shade called Breath right here. I mean, can you even? It's the best mint green in my collection. I love your roundup of colors in here. I mean, if you cover up the blue section here, it's very neutral and warm, but you also have this fun section of blues and greens. So I just really enjoyed this palette. This shade right here called Sense is insane. It's like a brownie bronze shade, but it also has like a pinky shift to it. I almost wore it today because I think it would be so beautiful with this outfit, but alas, I did not. I used the Natasha Denona Glam palette in case you're curious. But yeah, I really enjoyed this one, and surprisingly so. Hubby picked this out for me when we were in Vegas. It's not one that I intended purchasing for myself, but probably one of the ones I was most surprised by this year and really, really enjoyed. Next, we have the Natasha Denona Retro palette. Again, this is one I did intend on purchasing as soon as I saw it, at least when we saw actual photos that showed it in all its glory. But I was a little hesitant or like crossing my fingers that I would like this because I'm not a big pink purple fan. I do like berries, I like certain tones of pink, and these are all the ones I love. One of my favorite shades is this cream to powder shade right here called Andy. I don't even know what you would call it, but it's like a dusty purpley mauve shade, and it's just absolutely stunning. You know, you've got your glitter and glam in here. I also really enjoyed this shade called Jude, and it's just this is her thick foiled metallic shadows, not like what's in the Zendo palette. And I loved that she put so many cream to powder shadows in here. That's my favorite formula from her. I definitely felt like I got a good variety of looks out of this thing. Again, I will link any videos pertaining to the palettes that I'm mentioning today, but I was really pleased with this purchase. And lastly, and most recently, this was the last palette that I bought for 2021, and it is the Huda Beauty Rose Quartz palette. Huda Beauty. Okay. It's so pretty. I just finished my 1 week 1 palette with this yesterday, I believe, when I'm filming this, and I cannot wait to share it with you guys. This palette is outstanding. I cannot wait to pair this with the Mercury Retrograde from last year in 2020. I think they're going to pair beautifully together. The obvious standouts in here are the 3 duochrome shades. I mean, can you even? Let's look at that. Just goodness gracious. And I even like this little petri dish shade that she included in here, like she did with the Naughty Nude palette. You know, you definitely get some pigment there. I liked it on the inner corner. I really want to try it kind of as a glitter glue for some of the more flakier metallic duochrome shades. And I also want to try it just all over my lid, see how it holds up over the day, or whether it ends up being an oily, greasy, creasy mess. We'll find out. But this was definitely in the top 3 of releases that I bought this year. The last few awards, first of all, the best new release of 2021 for me, and it is, again, the Huda Beauty Rose Quartz palette, and I'll tell you why I chose it. First of all, it's very hard to choose a favorite anything within a category, let alone over my entire collection. Not only is this the first palette in a long time, I mean, even the Natasha Denona Retro palette didn't make me go, you know, but this did. I was totally taken aback. I made a double take. I mean, all the things. But also, when I posted my pictures of this over on Instagram, at the time I'm filming this, there's like 6,000 likes on that picture. And I'm going to be honest and tell you that my Instagram does not typically blow up like that. And the reason why I think this is the best release of the year is not only because I was so excited about it, but all of you guys were so excited about it as well. And I also followed the hashtag on Instagram, Huda Beauty Rose Quartz, and it's like my entire feed turned into the Huda Beauty Rose Quartz palette. So I definitely picked this as the best new release of the year, not only for myself, but because all of you were so excited as well. Worst product of the year. This can sometimes be tricky too, and I want to preface this like I did before and say mascara is really personal, and so this is not necessarily a bad mascara, it's just not a mascara for Kyra. And that is the e.l.f. Big Mood Mascara. Now, like I said, I love the Lash It Loud because it gives me exactly what I'm looking for, length, definition, etc. But the Big Mood Mascara, I used it one time and I was like, nope, that's not gonna be for me. I used it a few more times just to be thorough and so that I can share my thoughts with you guys, but that was a hard pass. Then my daughter said, my daughter's 13, she asked if she could try it since I wasn't going to use it anymore. So I gave it to her and she opened it and looked at the wand and closed it and gave it right back to me. The brush on this mascara is massive, like really massive. So it can get super messy, especially if you're trying to use it on the lower lashes. And it just was not my jam whatsoever. So for me personally, that was the worst release of the year. And then the very last two is something I like to do every single year, and that is to predict a favorite for next year's Journey in Beauty Awards and also check in on my previous year's prediction to see if I was right. So my prediction for the 2022 Journey in Beauty Awards, and that means I predict this will rank somewhere in the awards, is the Patrick Ta Major Headlines Blush Kit palette thing. Allegedly, this is limited edition. I really hope it isn't because it is gorgeous. This is, like I said, what I'm wearing on my cheeks today. She's Vibrant Powder and the She's Baked Cream is what I'm wearing today, and I love it. Yesterday I wore the She's Baked Powder with the She's Vibrant Cream on top, and that was gorgeous as well. I just really enjoy this, dare I say, even more than my single double take cream blushes. So I definitely predict this to be a favorite in my awards next year, but we'll see. And last year's prediction was that the Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Superstar Glow Highlighter would place in the awards this year. Now, having watched the entire awards show, you can see that it didn't, but it is still very much a favorite. So my prediction was wrong in terms of it being in the awards, but it is still very much a favorite highlighter of mine. You can't even see it, can you? There it is. It's really beautiful. I really enjoy this a lot. So my prediction was wrong, but it is still a favorite, so that's a win in my book. Thank you guys so much for hanging out for a full hour is what I'm at right now filming. But, you know, I like to give my final thoughts and reviews on these products after a full year and after placing them in my Tippy Top Award show video. So I hope you guys enjoyed this year's awards. I can't believe it's been 4 years that I've been doing this video at the end of the year, and I cannot wait to do the big 5 years next year, a year from now, but I'm not in a hurry to get there. So thank you guys so much for another wonderful year here on YouTube. I've mentioned it before, and I think I will mention it again in tomorrow's video, which is the very last Get Ready With Me of 2021, in which I will be using this beautiful blush palette, as well as the Charlotte Tilbury Smoky Eyes Are Forever. I do a really smoky eye, so stay tuned for that, and I'm going to gush at you guys a little bit more then. But thank you guys so much for being here and being supportive of this channel and what I'm trying to do for you guys here on YouTube this year. And I hope all of your makeup days are absolutely beautiful makeup days. Have a happy New Year's. Drink responsibly. Don't drive. That is what Lyft and Uber are for. And I will see you next year.